Before you sign that lease, that mortgage, that contract to live together, before you share a closet, let's talk. As a relationship coach, I have seen so many times how couples make grave mistakes when it comes to moving in. This is a huge life transition when you decide to move in. So, I want to share with you some of the things that will help you prepare for moving in with your person so you do not make these grave mistakes. Hello, beautiful people. I am Dani Wigfall, your go-to relationship coach. I also happen to be a mental health therapist, creative artist, wife, mom, yada, yada. That list goes on. I'm not getting into that list. I am here to build stronger couples, stronger families, and build stronger people, just you as an individual. So if you're ready to rock with me, let's go. We're going to get right into this video. Now, the number one mistake couples make when they decide they want to move in together is not talking about these topics. I have to lay it out. I can't say it's just this one thing, but I will say overarching, it's not talking about several things. It's just assuming these things are going to work out because we love each other and we get along well. So moving in together would be great. It'll be great financially. It'll be great for us to learn more about each other. It'll be great for the list goes on there, right? But I want to caution you as you're seeing all the rosy and beautiful things, I also want you to pay attention and have conversations with your significant other about some of these other things, and we're going to go through it. Okay? I got your back. I got you. If you know someone that's moving in with someone, share this video. If you have not yet subscribed and you're watching this video, subscribe. It really helps our channel. And I just want to say thank you so much. All right. When you live together, battles and arguments and little things that we start to shift under the rug start to pile up into bigger things, right? So I want you to keep in mind that one, this is a partnership. It's not about winning. Okay? When you're on the same team, it's not about winning. Either the whole team wins or you guys don't win. We figure it out, we compromise. But shifting your mindset to being a partnership is going to be key when living together. And sometimes it's hard. If you've never lived with someone on a romantic level before, this is going to take some maneuvering. It's going to be new for you, and that's fine. You're navigating it. But these are some things you want to talk about when it comes to, let's say, compromising. Is your partner a person that likes to compromise? Some people don't believe in compromising, but it's good to know that ahead of time before you share a space with them intimately. And this may sound minor, but this is huge. It's good to know how flexible or how rigid your partner is on certain things. So discussing these things and not just assuming that, okay, everything's going to work out when we move together. I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm going to sweep it under the rug. The rug gets bigger and bigger and bigger when you live together and we don't talk about these things, right? So if you can talk about these things ahead of time, that will help you out drastically. And it will help you decide, is this something that is going to work? Can I accept this or can I not accept this? You know, is this not going to work for me? That's going to help you earlier than later. Trust me. Another thing you might start to see is patterns you haven't seen before with your partner. So now you're going to see them, how they wake up in the morning, how they do dishes, how they clean up after themselves, how do they do laundry, these type of things. And they may not be the same as you, right? My husband folds towels, very different from how I fold towels. I will say his way is better. It is. And so I have shifted over to his side of things. How do they handle their job related tasks? What does that look like as far as prioritizing? So knowing you're going to see the facade is over. If they had any type of fronts up, or if there were just things you just didn't get a chance to see, you're going to see it now, right? So talking about, what do you like in your home life? Like, when do you do these things? How do you like them done? What are the things you are particular about, right? So asking these questions ahead of time. Like, some people are particular about how their clothes are folded. Some people can throw their clothes in a ball. It's fine. No big deal. You know, and we'll get into roles later in this video because that is key. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but going back to patterns, knowing, okay, I see how they're doing these things. Okay. Keep in mind, you don't want to judge your partner and make them feel bad because they do things differently from you, right? If it's something that could potentially annoy you, or you feel like this is something that is really bothering me, have a conversation about it. And if you know about it ahead of time, have a conversation about it. See how you guys want to work on this before it becomes something that just piles up and piles up. And before you know it, we're arguing about all of these different things that could have been resolved or at least managed earlier in the relationship or earlier in the move in process. Okay, this part is huge. Roles in the relationship. And I mean, personally, household roles. Now, I have a video on this as well. And I'm going to link it below so you guys can watch that as far as who's doing what. That's for you guys to decide. But it helps to decide who has strengths in what. A lot of times people like to leave this up to gender. Please do not just follow that narrative, okay? Make your own rules for your relationship. If, let's say, your partner is better at laundry than you are, that's a strength of theirs, or they're particular about their laundry, maybe they take over that role. Dishes, who does that? Finances, we'll get into finances. Who's better at budgeting? We have to talk about these things. Are we going to have a budget? How are we going to spend money? Having these types of conversations on roles in the household, things that need to get done, who's going to handle what? And I want to caution you again, just try your best not to look at gender when it comes to this. Well, traditionally, this person is supposed to be doing this and this person's supposed to be doing that. No, look at yourselves as individuals. What do I have as strengths? What does my partner have as strengths? Those roles should tie to your strengths. If there's somewhere in the middle or you guys both kind of don't like something, then that's where we have the conversations about it, because sometimes there may be certain roles where there isn't a clear strength there. That's okay. Now we decide who's going to do it, who's going to try to take on this task. And having grace for one another is going to be very, very important. Also, keep in mind that things can shift in seasons. Maybe one partner tries to, let's say, take on, like, I'll do the dishes, right? They take on the dishes, but maybe they aren't the best at doing the dishes, or just something keeps happening where it's not getting done, it's not happening, right? Maybe trying to shift that responsibility onto the other person, and maybe the other person takes something else. It doesn't have to be a tit for tat. It's never going to be balanced. I don't care what anybody says. It's not going to be a tally of this person does this many things and this person does this many things. In your relationship, keep in mind that the scales are going to go like this. It's not for you to keep tally, but it is important for you to pay attention to your capacity and your partner's capacity. As life happens to us, we're going to have different capacity levels for what we can and we cannot do. And it's important to be able to shift with your partner when they can't do something. Even if they agreed to it before, they might be in a different season in life where that is just not helpful for them to do right now. So being able to really, truly see your partner and be there for them is most important during this time, instead of just being a stickler for this is the way it is, this is how it should be. Another thing you want to pay attention to when you move in together is you're going to be spending a lot of time together. And as beautiful and as blissful as that may seem, also I want to let you know it's very important to have your individual time. Your time to just decompress, whether that is before you get home, you spend 10 minutes in your car. People that do that, you know what I'm talking about, okay? You need those minutes before you walk into your home, or you need to go for a walk. Make sure you have that decompressed time, especially if you have a family or you have children. It's so important for you to have that time where you're just taking a moment for yourself. It's not selfish. It's something you're doing to recharge and refuel, because it's hard to go from this to this to this to this to this. And sometimes we can think, oh, I'm supposed to be with my partner all the time and this is supposed to be great. I mean, it sounds great, but as humans, we need a little bit of isolation, a little bit of alone time. And I'm not saying a lot. I'm not saying like you go away on a mountain for 50 years or anything like that. But make sure you have your time to decompress, to think, to breathe, whatever that looks like for you. And know that you're recharging yourself. Anything that refuels you is really important. I can do a whole video on this, especially when it comes to families and how important that individual time is, but also how important that intentional couple bonding time is as well. One thing to really look out for when you move in with someone is the romance could potentially start to fall off. And I'm sure some of your friends that have lived with their partners for some time will attest to this. The romance could fizzle. And that's because you guys get used to being each other. And that's because you guys get used to being in that same space together. So things can start to fizzle. But I want you to be aware, be intentional about showing up for your partner, okay? You don't want this to turn into a roommate situation where we just live together, where it's like you can't tell your partner versus maybe a roommate that you would potentially have or a sister or brother that you lived with. No, you don't want your partner to turn into a roommate or a sibling or feel like your child. You don't want that, okay? So just be mindful of ways that you guys can intentionally bond where it keeps your connection and it's about you two versus, okay, you do this, I do this, and we're just living together, but we're not growing together. Sometimes when we're just living together and we're just doing life side by side, let's say it looks like roommates, it looks very stale, it looks very, you do this, you do that, transactional. That's where things can start to grow apart. And we mentioned we grow apart. And I have a whole video on that as well. Are you in a routine or are you in a relationship? So I'm going to link that one below too. It is a really good video. Check that out, especially because at this time in this transition in your life, it's so easy to fall into the roommate bucket versus we're in an amazing, healthy, thriving relationship bucket. Okay. You you don't want to be with your brother, sister, or mom or child. No. Okay. You want to be with your partner and it feel like your partner and we're building together. Now let's talk about arguments. Okay. For majority of couples, especially if you live together, you're going to get into some arguments. And arguments are fine as long as they are healthy. So there's a healthy way to handle conflict and there are unhealthy ways to handle conflict. Sometimes we don't know that. Sometimes we just know what we were growing up and what we saw. So we repeat those same things, even though they might not be healthy. So keep in mind, you can disagree with someone and it still be healthy and actually be an opportunity for growth in your relationship. So if you want a video on that, let me know. I can do a full video on that. I might just do it anyway, just because arguments is something that happen in relationships. Doesn't mean your relationship is down in the gutter. Doesn't mean it's a horrible situation, but you want to also make sure that you're having these disagreements or arguments in a healthy manner. But when it comes to arguments and you're living in the house with that person or wherever that space is, there is no, I'm going to escape here. I'm going to escape and go to my house. No, that is your place. That is your home. So keep that in mind when you argue. If you're a person that needs some cool down time, where are you going to go? What does that look like for you? How long are you going to go? And talking about that with your person. Hey, sometimes if I need to cool down, I'm going to do this. Even knowing that for yourself is a tool in your back pocket that you can just, hey, communicate to your partner first and then go do what you got to do. But there's not a lot of escape options, whereas before you're like, oh, I'm gonna go back home, I'm gonna stay home for a few days, and then I'll come back out. Nope. It's really facing things a little bit more head on because there isn't that escape per se. So how are you going to deal with that when conflict arises? Talking to your partner about that. How are you going to deal with the other person needing some space possibly? And what does that look like for you guys? And I always say, if you need space, communicate that. Don't just ghost your partner. Don't just disappear. I think it's just more respectful and more considerate to communicate your needs to your partner. And that can go for any arena, really. Sometimes we just do things on our own accord because we feel it in the moment. But it would help if we were like, hey, I need some space. I'm going to go do this. Now, your partner may still get upset because they may be the type of person that wants to, no, we need to hash it out right now. And so you might deal with some conflict with that, but that's going to be something you guys navigate. There's going to be some people, and I'm just going to say this for everybody, there's going to be some people that like to handle things right up front, handle it right away. And there's going to be some people that like to take some space. Okay. If you're a person that likes to handle things up front, know that timing does matter. It's not about we need to solve this right now, but coming along with your partner and deciding, okay, when's a better time for us to discuss this or go over this? Because I don't want it to be something that sweeps under the rug. So, and the same thing with the person that's taking space. Be mindful of your partner that really wants to talk about the situation right now. So don't go off and like never talk about it. Like, I need space, and then we never come back to the issue at hand. So make sure that you do have a time where it's like, no, we are going to come back, but I need these 10 minutes. I need this 20, whatever it is for yourself. Sometimes we may think we don't need to talk about these things, but if your emotional base is not secure, everything that's built on top of that without having that firm foundation is going to crumble. Okay, so what are you building this house on? What are you building this home on? It could be apartment, whatever the building, but what are you building this space on, and how are you guys communicating? And really, it comes down to, it's not really about the space, but how well you two can work together and really see each other throughout it. Now, another thing that I'm finding more couples are talking about is finances. And that's great. Who's going to handle what financially? What do your finances look like? Do you have any debt, any student loans? Who's going to do the budgeting, the organizing, the spending? Also, what type of spending habits does your partner have? You guys want to talk about that? Do they spend impulsively, or are they a saver? Are they somewhere in between? What are their things that they like to spend money on? Okay, you should know that for yourself. What are your things you like to spend money on? Or is it just random all over the place? Or do you have certain things where it's like, no, I'm a quality person, so I may not spend all the time, but when I spend on certain things, they're going to be of quality. Knowing your and your partner's spending habits is very important. Sometimes it's not even about what you make. Is that important? Yes. But it's also about how you spend. So sometimes we talk about, how much do you make? How many bills do you have already? How much debt, do you have, or are you carrying? But we don't talk about, how do you spend? So please add this in talking with your partner. How do you spend money? What does that look like? Are there any things you like to splurge on? What does most of your money go to? These conversations get missed. I don't want you to miss that. You're here for a reason, okay? So I'm going to give you all the goods, all the details, all the things, but do not miss that part. Sometimes we halfway do it, and that's fine. Even just that conversation is great. But another side to that conversation is how you're spending. Because you can make $1 million, let's say, a year. You make $1 million a year. But if you also spend over $1 million a year, that's a very different situation. Whereas, let's say you can make $40,000, $50,000 a year, but if you only spend $20,000 a year, then you're better off than the person that's making the $1 million. So how you spend money is really important. And sometimes these type of subjects can be hard to talk about with your partner. You can blame me. I tell my clients all the time, blame me. Refer them to the video, or if they have me in session, they don't actually, hopefully they don't watch my videos. Maybe they do watch my videos. I don't know. But they have me in session, right? And so I say, blame me and say that I told you to bring this up, Now, if you don't want to blame me and you just want to say, hey, you know what? I think these are important things that we should talk about. I have a list. Can we create some time to talk about these things? And then go for it. Keep in mind, sometimes finances can be a little touchy with people, but this is a point for you two to grow as a couple and talking about difficult things, talking about things that people say we should not talk about. There's several subjects that we say, oh, don't talk about these things, right? Finances and money falls into one of those things, but that should not be true. I do believe that we should talk about money. We should talk about finances. And I think we should talk about them as family too. So we know and we learn with each generation versus it being some hidden thing where every generation is trying to figure it out or go to the next thing. But we're building, we're compounding, not just interest, but wisdom and knowledge. Don't get me on that rant because I can keep going. But finances, have that conversation. Now, this is a big beware. Beware of hidden influences in your just thought process, in your perspectives, right? In what you think. Sometimes this looks like your parents believe this, and so now you're taking on that ideology, even though you may not believe that. So deciding what is important to you. You can take some things, you also can leave some things. I think it's important for each generation, take what you need And then some of the stuff may not serve you. So don't use it. Your parents grew up in a very different time. Your guardians grew up in a very different time than what you're navigating right now. It looks very different these times than how they looked before. So take what works. And if other things don't work, don't take them. Don't take them just because you were told or this looks a certain way. Okay. Decide for yourself what's important to you and what you value. Family, culture, belief systems they really affect your expectations here. So ask yourself, why am I sticking to this? Is it culture related? Is it because of my belief system or my faith? Is it because of my parents' ideology? This was how I was raised. Do a little bit of that work for yourself as to why I'm holding on to certain things, as to why it may have to be a certain way. And challenge yourself. Does it have to be that certain way? Maybe it does for you. Maybe it doesn't. So just watch out for feelings that aren't really your feelings, but you've adopted from culture, could be a belief system, could be parents, could be things you've seen on TV. Just be mindful of those things because they are going to come into play when you're living with someone. Like how sometimes people may repeat things that they've heard their mom say or things they heard their dad say. It's just those things start to become generational, and it's up to you to decide. If you don't really like it, you have a choice. You don't have to do it. You don't have to repeat it. You don't have to live by it. But if it is something you want to live by, knowing those things and knowing that's important to you is going to be very powerful in your relationship. Here's another, and this is my last point that I want to kind of drill home, is who's going to have some final say on certain things in the household? Is someone going to have final say, or are we always going to compromise? Are there certain categories where someone has a final say, when it comes to things, or are we going to compromise and just take it moment by moment? For instance, a lot of arguments that come up in the beginning have to do with decoration, where things should go, where they should be put up. Do we want this? Do we not want this? How does that look? How does that not look? Sometimes you may not have the same taste as your partner. So how are you going to decide? How are you going to make decisions? Life is full of a lot of choices, and we have to make a lot of choices. So deciding on maybe home decor for these rooms, you'll be over that. Home decor for these rooms, I'm over that, So it could be like that, but you guys create your own structure for each other. Don't feel like it has to be, because traditionally home decor could be a more feminine type of task. So we would like to put it there. Does not have to live there. That does not have to be true for you guys. Do not feel like you have to live by these norms that do not work for you. Keep that in mind when it comes to decision making around the house. It could be lawn care, it could be budget. Sometimes budget or finances might have the final say on things. Does this fit in the budget? So those things are important to look out for. So these are some great conversations to have before you move in. Okay, if you know someone that's planning on moving in, or they just got engaged, or wherever they are in their relationship, they want to take this next step, send them this video. Why? Because you love them. Why? Because you're looking out for them. And hopefully they can get some nuggets from this. So if you got this video, it's because someone loves you. Also, don't forget to subscribe. My goal is to build stronger couples, stronger families, and a stronger you. All right, that's it. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.